Hello, my name is Megan Varner, and I am a physical therapist and also a health and wellness coach who helps individuals with POTS and chronic fatigue figure out how to get their energy back so they can thrive again in their lives. This population is very dear and dear to my heart as I myself have POTS and chronic fatigue associated with hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and I have been figuring out how to thrive with all of these conditions over the last almost decade. There have been lots of ups and downs, but I'm happy to say that there is hope, and it just takes a couple of tools and quite a bit of accountability in implementing them to be able to figure out how to improve your energy. So the topic I'm going to talk about today is pacing. This is a topic that's actually pretty common in the world of physical therapy, but it's also common in talking about how to not become exhausted when you are dealing with a fatigue syndrome like POTS. There's a good theory out there called the spoon theory that many individuals I've talked to and worked with are a fan of, in which you have a certain number of energy spoons in a day, like 12, and each activity that you do, each encounter that you have, even the thoughts that you think can drain some of those energy spoons away. So you only have a certain amount left for the rest of the day. It can be helpful for many, but on my own journey, it actually wasn't super helpful. Not saying that there's anything wrong with it, but I would get to the end of my day and have one spoon left and have to take care of my cat and fix dinner and still take a shower and figure out how I was going to arrange my schedule for the next day and deal with text messages from friends and family. And I just felt overwhelmed, and I would wake up the next day with negative spoons, feeling absolutely horrible and wondering about how am I going to get through my day. I already feel like I'm 2 steps behind. So another approach to pacing that's actually was brought to my attention by a physician that I worked with, and I've elaborated on it a bit since then in working with clients that have POTS and chronic fatigue, is seeing pacing as something that is twofold, where pacing is about learning how to decelerate yourself when you're stuck in a state of fight or flight, or even in a state of freeze, as being in that state can be very draining on your energy levels, and deciding how to allocate the energy that you do have that day to fulfill your priorities. This twofold piece has been super helpful in taking a more holistic approach, personally for me, than just seeing that I have a certain number of energy spoons in a day and then they're gone. So, to talk a little bit more about what it means to be able to decelerate yourself so you have more energy. With relation to POTS, we can get stuck in a state where our autonomic nervous system is pushing on the gas pedal, or sympathetic fight or flight. And we have trouble taking this hypothetical foot off of the brake so that we're not pushing and surging into more and more of a sympathetic state. So when we're in this gas sympathetic state, our heart rate can get higher, and that's kind of the trigger for a lot of other POTS symptoms to be not so great, where our blood flow to our brain can get compromised. We get brain fog, confusion, difficulty concentrating. We can get more tightness, especially in the muscles and our neck and our upper back, referred to as coat hanger syndrome. We can have more tummy pain and difficulty digesting our food. Stuff can go too slow, stuff can go too fast. We can get to the point where we feel like we're being pulled into the ground, like you're wearing a lead blanket, or you can have an episode of fainting or almost fainting, which definitely is never fun, especially if you're in public and it's not great possibility of getting injured. So learning how to take that foot off of that gas pedal and put it on the brake to decelerate can be extremely helpful. Deceleration is possible, and I have to say in the beginning it's something that It's a moment-to-moment awareness of where your body is, that good old mind-body connection, that term that's thrown around a lot, of being in recognition mentally of what is going on with your body physically so that you can take some steps to not be in this constant draining state where you're going to have an energy crash later. So, some methods to help decelerate and put your foot on the brake pedal and slow down would be, my favorite one I'll mention first, breathing. Breathing is really powerful, as it is the one automatic or autonomic function that we have conscious control over, and it can signal our body to reduce our heart rate and get other systems like our blood pressure, our lymphatics, and even some of the waves in our brain to get into this synchronous rhythm, depending upon the type of breathing that we're using. My favorite style of breath is called resonant breathing, or as I explain to clients, equal breathing, where you're breathing in for an even count of 5 to 7 seconds, not pausing and then breathing out. And so you're getting this nice smooth wave, almost like you're rocking a baby in a rocking chair, that's signaling to your nervous system to begin to slow down, push on that brake, and decelerate. For some individuals, it can take quite a bit of time to master this type of breath, and it's also important to be aware of where that breath is coming from in your body. If we're breathing from up here, we're going to kind of stay stuck in that energy draining state and have difficulty decelerating. But if we're breathing down from the lower region of our ribs and our belly, we're going to be able to push on that brake and decelerate ourselves. So the second favorite practice I have for decelerating is tapping into some somatic practices that signal your body that it is safe and that it is grounded. To share a quick one, an easy one to do is just giving yourself a hug, either a hand on each shoulder, and you can even take some of those nice, slow, resonant or equal breaths. Or there's a slightly different version where you're doing a containment hug, where you have your right hand in your left armpit and your left hand on your right shoulder, just again signaling that your body is safe. And my third favorite practice that you can actually, again, combine with these other two of breathing and the self-hug would be saying some calming phrases to yourself, like I am safe, I am calm, I am at peace. Whatever 3 things bring you down back out of that feeling spiraled up and overwhelmed to being grounded. So the second piece of learning how to pace is knowing how to allocate your energy based upon what particular things you need to get done in that day or what is important to you in your life. That can vary quite a bit from person to person and in whatever life stages you're in. For those of us that are still in school or doing any type of graduate work, a top priority would hopefully be getting your coursework done and attending the classes that you need to get to. Another priority would hopefully be around having time to cook healthy meals for yourself and prioritizing time to spend with friends or loved ones. Most people have what I like to call big rock priorities that they really need to fit into every day. And then there are other smaller priorities or little rock priorities that they can attempt to fit in later, but it's okay if they wait a little bit longer. So something I encourage clients to do is to make a list of what are your top 5 priorities in your life. Okay, what are your top, maybe smaller priorities that are important to you, but maybe not as important as those top 5. Okay, now when you get up in the morning, keeping those in mind and thinking about what you have to get done in the day, what absolutely has to get done at this point in time in your life, and what things can you put aside and do later and make time in your schedule for later on. I really like to say that self-care is a priority, and self-care can also be in the form of the breathing and the self-hug or a somatic practice like that. So that is something that really should make it onto your daily priority list to be able to decelerate yourself when you're getting in this energy draining state, but realize that it's something that you still have to allocate some energy to. That may sound a little bit counterintuitive, but in order to pace, you have to prioritize the ability to shift into more of a restorative mode and not be in this constant acceleration, foot on the gas mode all the time. So with these two things in mind, I definitely don't want to forget about saying some things with respect to the deceleration piece and the energy allocation piece, that having a schedule idea is super important. Going about your day, even if you are not at a point in your journey with POTS and chronic fatigue in which you're able to work, but having a loose structure of your day, knowing what it's going to be like in times during the day when you can insert some more of these restorative practices to decelerate yourself, to be less drained, can be super duper helpful. Because getting up with a day and really not having a plan can backfire and end you up, like I mentioned, I struggled with for years with having that one remaining little energy spoon with a ton of stuff to do. So having an idea of what you're going to do during the day, like I'm going to wake up, I'm going to do this breathing practice, this somatic practice, I'm going to have breakfast, then I'm going to do this amount of schoolwork or computer work or go and run this errand. Then I'm going to come back and do this particular practice that helps regenerate me and restore me, and then go back out and do something else that's energy draining. And don't get frustrated, because in the beginning it can be really challenging to figure out how much you can do before you start draining your energy. And over time you begin to figure out, okay, these particular practices are going to be more draining. I'm able to restore myself in this way, and so I can add more stuff into my day and not feel like I'm getting into that drain state, not see my heart rate continuously get higher and higher, and know how to manage my heart rate when it gets to that point. So I hope these points have been helpful to see that there's another approach to look at how you can pace, looking at allocating your energy based upon your priorities that you have in your life and the things that you need to get done in your day, knowing how to decelerate yourself when you feel that adrenaline surge coming and you're getting more stuck in that fight or flight state, and having an approach to your schedule on a day-to-day basis, even if you are not at a point where your schedule is super busy, to be able to know what to do to get your energy back bit by bit and figure out how to thrive with POTS and chronic fatigue. If you'd like more information about how to rebuild your energy so that you can figure out how to thrive in your life with POTS, reach out to me through email or check out my private Facebook group, Thriving with POTS.